Welcome to the Dayspring College Podcast. I am so glad that you are with us here today. I have an extremely special guest for us on the podcast today. Mike Hall is one of the lead pastors at Dayspring Baptist Church, the same church that I'm at, as well as the college pastor, and we're going to be talking about an incredible initiative. But before we do that, I want to give Mike a chance to kind of introduce himself and let you as the listener know a little bit about him. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Chandler. Yeah, it's great to be here with you today. I'm the lead pastor of ministries at Dayspring, one of the three lead pastors there, and I've had the privilege of serving there for the past 10 years. Prior to that, I was pastor at a church in Tuscaloosa. And so it's been neat being here in Mobile. We certainly enjoy our time here. We enjoy the people. We enjoy the city. And most of all, we enjoy the seafood. So it's a great place to be and to live and to serve, and also to have opportunity to put the gospel out in not only our local community, but using Dayspring is a platform and getting the gospel to all parts of our world.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I'm so excited about this. We have talked about on the podcast previously the mission of Dayspring Baptist Church, which is to see every man, woman, and child have an opportunity to hear and see the gospel. And that's certainly a heartbeat of the college ministry, but there's a particular really thing that we do called 32 by 25, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So, Mike, tell me a little bit about what 32 by 25 is, and then I'd love to ask you some follow-up questions about how we can learn more and get involved.
Sure. Well, you just said it so well, Chandler. The heartbeat of Dayspring is all about getting the gospel in front of every man, woman, and child. We want to provide them repeated opportunities to hear and see the gospel and respond to the gospel. And we want to do that not only on a local level, which is obviously a great concern for us in our own community, but we also want to be involved in that on a national and global level as well. And one of the ways we're doing that on the national level is what we're calling our 32 by 25 Church Planning Initiative. Now, what this initiative is all about is carrying out that mission of Jesus that we just mentioned a moment ago. And what we have done is we have partnered with the SEND network of the North American Mission Board, and seeking to partner with those who are planting churches in specifically 32, what we refer to as SEND, S-E-N-D, churches, our cities, excuse me. These SEND cities are cities that have been identified by the North American Mission Board based on their population density as well as their need for the gospel. And so what we're doing is partnering with church planners in those 32 different cities and helping establish a gospel presence there in those places. Now, the way we're doing that is that we have this 32 by 25 initiative. And what that means is that we want to partner with a church planner in all 32 of the SEND cities by the year 2025. And we're doing that in several different ways. We can talk about that in just a moment if you'd like.
Yeah.
But that's kind of in a nutshell of what we're seeking to do there with the 32 by 25 Church Planning Initiative.
Okay. Mike, that's really cool, and I've heard about it, but it's so neat because on the podcast we've been studying the book of Philippians, and Paul has made a great point to say in that book that he's all about the advancement of the gospel. And so this certainly seems to be the kind of tip of the spear for us on a national level of how we are, as Paul would say, advancing the gospel along with those other cities. Now, let me ask you this. Why do you think it's so important that it's a city? What is the benefit of going to one of these cities as opposed to just kind of casting a wide net everywhere?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chandler. And let me respond to it in this way. When you study through the scriptures, especially in the New Testament, you're going to see oftentimes that the gospel or getting the gospel is always directed to a city.
Right.
Not so much maybe a certain community or a certain group of people, but the city itself. And we believe that the best way to get the gospel out to everyone is then by focusing on these certain cities, as you asked about. And the reason is because we see those cities as being significant cities in our own nation in North America, really, because we also going to have partnerships with those in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So what we see those cities as being very significant or strategic in getting a good gospel presence there, getting the gospel out to those people, and then being able to spread that out throughout all of North America. What we have discovered is that, or what we believe and discovered, is that the best way to get the gospel into a local community is through the local church.
Okay.
So the more churches that we have in place, then the greater the gospel saturation will be for that particular city. So that's why we're partnering with these church planters, because as we help establish new churches, and by the way, it's been shown that most effective way of getting the gospel to folks that maybe have not received the gospel or not engaged with the gospel is through a new church plant. So we're focusing through these church planters in that way.
All right. So one of the things I keep hearing you say, and I know it's always interesting to me to talk about how we go about doing this. So the initiative is to go to these 32 cities, partner with the church plants. So when we use the word partner, I know Paul was a big fan of that word, koinonia in the Greek. We're going to do a deep dive on that later in the semester on the podcast. I'm pumped about that. So when we say partner with a church, what does that mean? How do we go about doing that?
Well, the way we do that here at Dayspring is with our church plant partners, and we're surfacing up that word once again there.
Absolutely.
Is there are three aspects to that for us. First of all, we're going to make a commitment to that church planter that we're going to be praying for them and praying for their city, just not for them, but for their city at large. Because we believe that prayer is the way that God has chosen to work through his people, and he responds to the prayers of his people.
Absolutely.
And so we also know that if we pray according to the will of God, we have the assurance or the confidence that God is going to respond to our prayers. And we know God's desire is for the gospel to be put in front of every man, woman, and child. So we commit to pray with and for this church planter, that new church work that's getting started there, and for the city itself. Secondly, we commit to sending short-term mission teams there to help that church planter and that church carry out their gospel witness, their gospel presence there in their local community. So what we seek to do is on an annual basis send out teams from Dayspring that would go to these different cities, work there in partnership with that church planter, and carrying out different events, different ministries, or doing whatever they need us to do and helping them carry out their gospel ministry in their particular location. And the third way we partner with them is we commit to support them financially. It takes finances to help do ministry and to be able to do ministry. And so we believe in what these church planters are doing so much that we want to invest in them financially. So we commit to financially help support them for a minimum of 2 years.
Awesome. And I just want to echo the second point there. It's so cool that we commit to sending short-term mission projects, because through the college ministry, we went to Vegas last fall and helped put on a D-Now with a couple of churches, a Discipleship Now, which is a weekend event for students, which was incredible. And then in the spring, we went to New Orleans and partnered with Jason Bedell, church planter in New Orleans, primarily for a Vietnamese community. And we got to go door to door and hand out some gospel literature, as well as do some yard work and really encourage him as he is really getting that kicked off. And certainly because of COVID and other things that have gone on this season, we haven't been able to do those trips as a college ministry, but we are looking forward to being able to go and partner again. And we've even had some staff that have jumped in on this. Can you tell us a little bit about our two awesome staff members that we already miss, but that, this DNA kind of got into everybody, this initiative, which I think we all kind of thought as a staff, like, hey, this is a really good thing, but maybe didn't expect to have the immediate impact on our own people as quickly as it did.
Sure. One of the things is committed ourselves, Dayspring committed itself to the being part of this church planting partnership initiative. And we realized that if we were going to be very serious about that and intentional, that means not only would we be partnering in the ways we just mentioned, we would be prepared to send out others from Dayspring. And it's been exciting to see how God has worked in that. We have recently had two of our staff members that have felt or experienced the tugging of God in their hearts to relocate to other cities to begin gospel ministry there. We have our student pastor, Joseph Gibbons, has just recently relocated to Las Vegas, and he and his wife Kristen and their 2 children are in the process of planning a work there in South Vegas. They're going to be over this next year doing a residency with a church there in Las Vegas, learning the community, getting plans made for launching a new work there this next fall in 2021. We also have had our children's kids pastor, Billy Dantzler, and his family began to sense God tugging them to South Florida, and they have just recently transitioned to that part of our country to begin there in the city of Orlando, starting a gospel ministry there in a very specific way. So it's been exciting to see that how God has not only involved us in partnerships in the way we mentioned before, but he's also pulling out people and giving us the opportunity as a church to send them out into gospel work in that way. And we're very excited about that. Now, let me just tell you, we realized that when we started this, and we realized if we were going to be serious about sending out people to do gospel work, we better be prepared to send out some of our best. And that's exactly what's happened. And it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions. We're excited about them going. Obviously, we miss them here. We're grateful for their ministries they had during their season here at Dayspring. But we also realize that's part of being a sending church. If you're going to be a sending church, you better be ready to send out people. By the way, we've not only sent out staff members, we've had several people in our church, part of our congregation, that have said, hey, you know what? We believe in what's going there. God is tugging at us as well. So we're going to relocate our whole family to this city to be able to help you as you get ready to launch this new church in the days ahead. So that's been pretty exciting to see as well. It's a great thing. God obviously, we always say if God's going to lead someone, move someone to a different place, he's going to raise up someone else to carry out the work that he has that they're leaving behind. We've seen that happen here at Dayspring already, and we're excited about what's going to be happening in the days ahead. Part of what we want to do as a sending church is to help prepare people to be able to go out, for us to send them out, so to speak, and doing that ministry.
Absolutely, and we're going to touch on that right at the end, is really how specifically students, college students, can get involved. I just want to plug for Joseph Gibbons, as he's out in Vegas. I would encourage you, if you're listening, hop onto Instagram and follow at Favor City Church, I believe is their Instagram. Follow them. You can keep up with Joseph and Kristen and his family as they continue that journey of planning. It's such a cool thing to be able to watch from afar. So, Mike, 2 kind of final questions for you. Firstly, if you want to prepare for this kind of journey, if you're already a part of Dayspring, or if you maybe want to know a little bit more about how to prepare yourself for maybe an opportunity out in the future, what are some suggestions that you would make for a college student to say, hey, I'm a sophomore or a freshman or even a junior, I would like to go out and do this? What are some things that you would give some practical advice for them to prepare themselves?
Yeah, well, Chandler, first of all, I would say this. If you, as a college student, this may all sound real new to you, and you're thinking, hey, I'm in college life right now. I'm working on my academics. I want to get my degree. I've got a career that I'm hoping to enter into, and I understand all of that. But I would say to you, too, as a follower of Jesus, as you're doing that and as you're preparing yourself in that way, realize that oftentimes God is using that to help prepare you for the work he has for you in the gospel in a lot of different ways. So here's the thing I would say. Not only should you be focusing on your academics, focusing on your degree and so forth, but I would encourage you to involve yourself, engage in college ministry. Obviously, I'm going to say, hey, let's engage in Dayspring College Ministry because I believe in what they're doing and how we're doing that. Because what you'll find at Dayspring College Ministry is we are actually, a lot of what we're doing is just not to help you where you are now, which obviously we want to do. We want you to grow in your relationship with God. We want you to begin to develop as a follower of Jesus, and we want to help disciple you in that. But part of that is also realizing that when you finish college and as you're moving into a career, or maybe you're relocating to a different city, God can use you in a very specific way in what we're just talking about. And as you engage with the college ministry here at Dayspring, you're going to be learning things about church planning. You're going to be learning things about how you can work with a church planner and how you can actually even be involved in that process yourself. So first of all, I would say, get engaged in Dayspring's college ministry. Second thing I would say to you is be willing or be open to maybe taking one of these short-term mission trips that we've just talked about. That would give you a great opportunity to interact with the church planter in a church planting context and see what that's like and learn and see how those things happen and see what takes place in that. And not only just kind of get a kind of behind the scenes look at it, but you'll also see exactly what God is doing and how he's moving through these church plants and getting the gospel out to every man, woman, and child. And I would say, too, that as you engage with the Dayspring College ministry, it will give you an opportunity as well to maybe see what it's like to be a church planter. You know, I'm not saying that everybody should be a church planter. That's obviously not the case, because God has different things for every one of us. But some of you out there may be a church planter and you don't even know it yet. So if you get involved and get engaged in the college ministry and these things that we've already talking about, you may begin to see how God is working in your heart, tugging at you, prompting you, nudging you towards something you had no idea about or have no idea about at this time. So I would just say make yourself available. Make yourself open to what God wants to do. Use some of these practical things that we've talked about. And I also think you'll find that to be helpful. One last thing I would mention. Here's a key thing. And probably I ought to have said this at the very first of all of it, Chandler, is I would encourage you to be praying for one of our church plant partners. We have prayer cards out in the lobby of Dayspring where you can get a card from them. It has a family pic. It has some info about them, contact info. I would encourage you to grab one or two of those, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7 of those cards, and begin to pray for that church planter. You've heard us mention one, Joseph and Kristen Gibbons, and there's others there. But I would encourage you to get that. Keep that card in front of you where you can see it on a regular basis and start praying for that church planter. As you pray for that church planter and pray for the work that they're doing in their particular city, hey, who knows? God may be use that to begin to speak to you about what he has for you in the days ahead. And by the way, you don't have to be a church planter to be involved in church planting.
That's right.
In fact, oftentimes as you're getting prepared for a career and maybe you're going to be relocating to a different place, I would be willing to say wherever you find yourself, there are going to be churches that are being planted, or there's going to be church planters who need those to come alongside them and help them in carrying out that gospel work there. Your involvement here at Dayspring, your involvement during your college years can help you get prepared to do exactly that.
Absolutely. An incredible resource with that idea of praying for those church plants and kind of where to go. We've already talked about the International Mission Board and the North American Mission Board. Those are credible organizations. You ought to check both of those websites out. But the North American Mission Board specifically has a program called Go To, and it encourages college students specifically who are in their junior and senior year to begin praying for one of those send cities, one of those 32 cities, that they would go and spend 2 years in building their career, building their resume, and simply go and work there, but to partner with a church plant while they're there. That means attending, that means participating in events, and all the things you would normally do with your local church here, but you would go out. All right, Mike, last question. What is a partnership that you're looking forward to, or one that you already know about that maybe is just now developing? Give us a little nugget there, something you're excited about.
Well, presently we have 7 church plant partners, so that means we've got a little bit of work to do if we're going to reach 32 by 25 by the year 2025. So we're constantly in a process of discovering, developing relationships with church planters. And one of the exciting ones that we're talking about now is we have been having discussions or conversations with those that are located in Calgary, Canada. And so we're getting ready to expand out. We have those that are located now. We have one in Atlanta. We have a church plant partner in Atlanta. We have a church plant partner, as you mentioned earlier, in New Orleans. We have those in Las Vegas. We have one in Boston. We have in Washington, D.C. We have one in Indianapolis and in Denver. So those are our present church plant partners. And we have one that's developing in South Florida. but we've got some work to do to go to the other Sin cities. And as I said earlier, there's not only located here in the United States, but in North America itself. So we're going to be looking at Calgary. In fact, we have 4 Sin cities in Canada. Excuse me, Canada, not Calgary. 4 Sin cities that we're going to be looking at in Canada and developing partnerships. Right now, we're in the process of Calgary as well as one in Portland. So we're kind of moving a little north and west right now in those
I love it.
cities.
Students, you heard it here first. Get ready to go to Canada.
There
All
you
right.
are. There you
We'll look into that, and I love to make that kind of stuff happen. Mike, thank you so much for being on with us. It's been an incredible blessing to hear all about the 32 by 25 initiative, and I cannot wait to see how God is specifically going to use the college ministry at Dayspring to help that initiative grow. Thank you so much for being here. Listener, thank you so much for being with us today. I pray that you have an absolutely blessed rest of your day.